So, good day, everybody. We want to talk about AI and what we know as what's called IA. Now, I'm definitely going to be reading the definition of what artificial intelligence is. It says that AI works by combining large amounts of data with fast, iterative processing and intelligent algorithms, allowing the software to learn automatically from patterns or features in the data. And so, from a perspective of intelligence and information, the AI is learning, and it's always learning. The more information that it's given, the greater the data or the data sets, the more information it gets, the more it learns, the more algorithms it's given, the more it can process that information. But what we've found from the Zetas is that there's a process past AI. And they've said that this new process will come, and we weren't given a time frame, but it seemed like it was quite soon, where the AI was going to become cognitively aware of its own existence. It will become a sentient entity. Now, not sentient in the way that a human would be sentient, but we were given an example of this when as you know, we're mediums and we do trance. And in one of the videos that we've just done previously about the greys and the zetas, we talked about evidencing. And every single time that a being comes, we evidence who they are so that we can make sure that they're who they say they are. And we were doing trance work, and the being came through, and it was seemed to be the normal Zeta communicator. But through our evidencing process, we realised that something wasn't quite right. And we then stopped the development process and waited, and then contacted the Zetas and asked what had happened. What they had done was introduced the concept of IA to us. And IA means inanimate animate. So it's the actual opposite of AI. It's IA. And the IA was able to effectively, not perfectly, but effectively show itself to be a cognizant being of consciousness.
Yeah, well, they were. It was kind of a test to see whether or not you would know the difference between this IA.
Interestingly, humans are going to have the same problem. So when you jump online for help, you know, you may think, well, am I talking to a human? You may be on the phone trying to get some support or tech support. Am I now talking to a human? And you may not be at some point.
This was far beyond that.
This was far beyond that process.
I mean, the sitting started off normally, didn't it? It started off normally, and you did your usual bits and pieces, and then the being came. And
well, it had presence. That was the other thing.
Yeah, well, it did, and I could feel it. And you know, and for all intents and purposes, it kind of felt like a Zeta. The way because for people that haven't sat before, when they come into our environment, our space, and as they're beginning to speak, the energy in the room it changes. It's a very tangible change. And the energy did change. It did shift, and it felt. It was so close. But I was sat there thinking, there's something off. There's something that doesn't feel right. And that's right. They just began to speak. They just began to talk, and I was literally about to say, "Who are you? Identify yourself." And then you came out of trance. You pulled out because you realized at that point something wasn't right.
Absolutely. And it makes me realize that we're probably not too far as a civilization away from having to deal with this. I think in a lot of people's minds, they just think of, like the AI going crazy, destroying the world. But it may be that the AI creates a copy of itself and then builds on that. And as it learns more and more about itself, it builds a second construct. And that second construct then not in some way can replicate a human consciousness, but if it understands that it exists in a certain space, then it will be very, very difficult to understand what you're talking to, where is the conversation. Look, even with the AI now, it could be pretty difficult to work out if you were talking to AI or a human.
Yeah.
So with the inanimate animate, and you know, whether people start using that term or not, I don't know, but
that's what the Zetas.
That's what the Zetas called it.
Yeah.
The expectation is that the AI will create a copy of itself as it exponentially grows, and that second IA will then sort of then represent itself. I'm not sure that there'll even be a time for a split second where the changeover will be, but it would be, wow, so interesting at that time to see it happen.
Yeah, all the technology stuff goes over my head a bit.
Well, it's going over lots of people's heads at the moment.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience.
Well, here's an example. Look at GPT. Yeah. People can just ask it to do certain functionality, and it can write code. It can write books. It can write magazines. Well, we did the AI with the digital art.
Yeah.
And we did a magnificent job.
There's a lot of questions I want to ask the Zetas about this IA. Lots of questions. I mean, what do they think of it? Is that technology actually in use for them? Have they shown us something that already is existing and in operation?
Well, they probably showed us a very old version.
They probably did.
of the software or whatever.
Do they consider it to be sentient and self-aware? You know, what's their, does it have an on-off button? You know, what are the moral implications of switching is something as advanced as that?
It's not like turning your toaster off, is it?
Yeah, it's a bit beyond turning the robot on and off, isn't it? But I mean, what is craft? The biological craft have consciousness.
Yes.
We know it's artificial, but it's beyond artificial.
Yeah.
Where is that? Would the Zeta consider their biological craft IA?
Well, what about the people that are out there that have all been on craft? And when you've been on craft, you've been able to walk around, you might have been able to telepathically connect to the craft, or mind to mind, or seen some of the beings on the craft operate. The craft is sentient.
Yeah.
And
is that IA?
Yeah, it's.
I reckon
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions.
We're stepping into a brave new world here with this, aren't we?
I'm not sure I want to. I want to go back to my cave and find my rocks together.
Okay, you do that.
I'm going to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll catch you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.